Oh, all right, everybody. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of The Slate. I am Emerson Lazia. I'm battling right now, I'm battling. But Jeff Ulrich, unlike our third member of our hump day team, you think I banged in sick? You think I'm that weak? You think I'm that big of a fraud or a coward? No. It's my Michael Jordan flu game is what it is. And I appreciate your support and everyone's support at home. Credit to all of you guys, but credit to me as well for playing through this illness. Game. Blouses. Fryer. Anywho, great to have you guys here. How are you, Nick? How are you feeling, Nick?
Oh, I feel great. You know why? Because I prioritize getting healthy, taking care of my body, and everything like that. So I got ready about as quickly as I could get. I don't know about you, Emerson. Maybe you'll have this into next week because you just don't know when to stop. And we'd be just fine if we brought in Kaufman or something like that. Totally would work.
Oh, my God. All right, first off, you would be just as fine if you brought. All right, buddy. Luckily for you, my skin is thick. So that does not faze me.
I mean, you guys couldn't do it with, you guys didn't have me on. Like you had to go and do a 2-man show. And the first 10 minutes you had to talk crap about me the whole time.
Kaufman was here.
What to do.
If Kaufman was here, we'd be talking about his fantasy team for 30 minutes and then the Patriots and Celtics for the next 20 minutes. And the show
half the company, okay? That's exactly what half the company does. Everybody just talks about the Celtics. Emerson complains about that with everybody.
Does that. Emerson doesn't do that.
No. He complains about everybody else doing.
Intern basis. Yes. Don't forget. Just don't overstretch your bounds.
Okay.
Don't insult the creators of the Wednesday Slate edition, highest rated version on YouTube.
It's true. Like we built this thing. Like we built this.
Built the city
from nothing. Yeah, we built this. We built this city. Yes, we did. It's so great though to be back with you two. I've missed you both.
I'm glad Nick's back. I'm glad he's back. I'm glad he's feeling better. I'm just kidding, Nick.
I don't believe anything.
We do like you.
Today. We do like you. Yeah, that's why you're here.
Which is why you're here.
Also, Garion is unavailable on Wednesdays, but
yeah, it's true. We have tried to reach out to Garion like multiple times on Wednesdays, and he's like, producer Eamon, for like the umpteenth time, like I'm just not going to do it on a Wednesday. But anywho, you guys want to talk some football? We'll start with some football. Both of you have teased, like Nick, you have teased in our Slack channel that you have some NBA picks. Jeff would potentially have some NHL picks. We'll see if we get there, but I think first thing first, we go with I think we do some football. And I think we start with tomorrow night, obviously, week 15 kicking off. It's kind of depressing, too, when you think about it. We only have 4 more weeks of the regular season, which definitely sucks. But tomorrow night, what do we have here? Big divisional game, don't we hear, Ulrich? So 49ers, Seahawks, 49ers, 3.5-point favorites on the road. I think Kenneth Walker is going to play, is what they just announced. I don't think he was on the injury report today.
Yeah,
Jeff, what's up?
He was full. No, I was just gonna say he was full practice yesterday, Kenneth Walker. So
awesome.
I mean,
love it.
Yeah.
So do you have a lean here with the spread right now?
Yeah, this is an interesting situation because 49ers come in, I think 6 in a row now. Seattle, clearly the inferior team. They're inferior defensively. The run game is basically they've attempted like less than 20 rushes over the last couple games because they can't run the ball anymore. But this is a weird week. It's a short week. Brock Purdy is banged up. Purdy's questionable for this game. I mean, we may get Josh Johnson in this game. Like that's the big thing. Yeah. So, he didn't, they're saying he's questionable. They're saying he's basically going to be decided on Thursday. So,
that's baloney. Fryer and I were questionable today too.
Yeah.
Okay?
And well, the thing is here, like, I mean, the Brock Purdy story is awesome, but like, I think people are getting a little bit ahead of themselves. This is his first divisional game. This is his first game as a starter on the road. Like
hostile environment, dude.
It's a bit of a hostile environment. All the money is coming in on the 49ers. And I think it's really interesting that this line has not moved at all. I think that I'm okay taking 3.5 with Seattle here. They're at home. Geno Smith, at the very least, has proven he can keep games close, even with the Seahawks just having maybe the worst defense in the league. So I think you got a situation where if the 49ers QB play regresses even a little, I think that Geno Smith could not only cover the spread, but potentially even grab the upset here. So again, it's not like long-term. I think Seattle is anything special. I think that those days are gone. Their defense just isn't there. And I think San Francisco is still going to be something to deal with as long as Purdy gets healthy again. But in this situation, I will take the 3.5 points with the Hawks. I will definitely go against the public here. And I think this will be a close game at the very least.
All right, Nick, did I just see you nodding your head in agreement there? Because one of the things I'm thinking, I know hostile environment, like Jeff, you made a bunch of really good points there. I mean, guys banged up, first time on the road, rookie quarterback, as we know, but the Seahawks have some major struggles against the run. I feel like that's just going to take a boatload of pressure off of Purdy here, Nick.
Yeah, but still, you're going to need him to be able to take care of things in this game. And I don't trust that, because as much as he's fine, when we're talking about an oblique situation, anytime that pops up, it doesn't matter what sport it is, I'm always going to feel uncomfortable with that player in whatever spot that they're in, just because those things can be a little bit tricky. So then you're going to go and roll with your fourth string guy, and now you don't have Debo in the mix. Like, I know you still got plenty of talent around whoever's playing quarterback in this game, but I'm with Jeff on this one. I am taking the points. And just when Jeff's talking about all the money's going to 49ers, just so everybody has an understanding of just exactly what that's looking like right now. 74% of the spread bets are going to the 49ers, but the sharps are with us on this one. They are going with the Seahawks. 26% of the bets, but 42% of the handle. And actually, if you're feeling a little delicious and want to go and back the Seahawks on the money line, 21% of the bets there, 30% of the handle. So the sharps are getting in on that one too.
Yeah, because I'm also thinking, Jeff, like Seattle here, looking at their numbers, is average just 60 rushing yards per game the last 4 weeks. They went 1-3 during that stretch, and that will only get worse if they are a one-dimensional team. Again, against the 49ers, who, by the way, 2-3 straight up on the road. So really, which trend wins on a short week?
Yeah, and again, for me, I don't think that the lack of rush game is that as big a deal against the 49ers. Teams can't run against the 49ers anyways. They have an elite rush defense. They're basically the best rush defense in the NFL. So I do think Kenneth Walker being back is good. He's the type of player who can get you a couple big plays in a game, potentially just shift the field and take a little bit of pressure off Geno Smith. I don't think the Seahawks need a ton. I don't think they need 40 rushes and to control the game. I think Geno Smith can do a lot. I mean, he's proven that he's an elite quarterback. He's up there in yards per pass attempt. I think there'll be plays like that available for him downfield, and I think that'll be enough. But Walker being back is big. I think the 49ers just, again, this is a big ask here. I mean, short week, lack of preparation for Purdy, and they're just the slightly more banged up team right now. So, again, 3.5. Looking at the money, I'm okay taking the points here with the Seahawks. It's not what I'd call my favorite spot of the week, but it's definitely I lean Seahawks here. I definitely like going against the heavy public bets. So, I mean,
not having Debo definitely hurts 49ers here.
I mean, again, I'm focusing on Purdy here, but Debo's out for this game too.
Yes. That's huge, and I can't help but wonder too with Ayuk how that's going to impact his fantasy value when we look at this game. And I mean, and you talk about Kenneth Walker too, Jeff. I mean, the big thing for me is when I'm looking at the player props here and I see his yardage prop is at 49.5, and I know he's coming back off an injury and everything like that, but that's a pretty low number for him. Although he had been trending downward over the last 3 games before he sat out. But I'm leaning towards the under in this one, as much as it's an appealing number to look toward the over. Just for me, I mean, you talked about it, how the 49ers, most running backs don't do well against them. I don't think I saw anybody has logged over 60 yards against them this season when I was looking at all the game logs for all the different running backs that they've seen. So 49.5 for a guy who was trending downward. Sure, maybe he took a little bit, maybe getting that little breather was helpful for him, but still coming off an injury against an elite rush defense. I don't like that. I don't like that here, and I don't like how low that number is. So I'm leaning towards the under there. And then when it comes to DFS, not to jump ahead too much, but I feel a lot less comfortable with him in this spot, seeing just that number alone, because it's okay, how is he going to go and give you back what he's bringing with that salary?
Yeah, Ulrich, what do you think about that total?
About the Kenneth Walker total?
No. Just the game. I want to know the game total.
The game total. Yeah. I mean, the game total is. I mean, again, I think that I think San Francisco on a short week is going to try and keep this as simple as possible. So I think 43.5 is what I would call just like it feels like a pretty solid number. Like I'm not expecting Geno Smith to go and light up the 49ers. But you could get a scenario where it's like 24-20. If I'm leaning, if you just like take a side of Ulrich and like, stop beating around the bush, like I'd take the over. If it gets up to 44, I'd definitely just stay off it. But I lean slightly over. I think Geno Smith, again, has proven that, he can move the ball quick. And, who knows like what the Seahawks defense is going to do. I mean, even all this stuff about the quarterback, even if I'm right, like it may not matter. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, even like, their rookie, what's his name? Mason? I can't even remember the backup's name. They have so many running backs in San Francisco. But, like they could just demolish this rush defense and put up like 28 points on their own. So, yeah, I think that the over is slightly more appealing for me right here. But I'm not really big on the total for this game.
Okay, so in terms of with Debo out, does that impact the direction you'd want to go in, Jeff, in the props department? Would you look at someone over on the San Francisco side here? Maybe someone like a George Kittle. Would you take over his receiving yards? Was it around like 40 or something? I think last time I saw, because we know the Seahawks have been absolutely exploited by tight ends this year.
Oh, yeah. Actually, we don't have a George. Oh, yeah, there we go. George Kittle over 3.5 receptions. Okay. I like that a lot. You mentioned again, like the just the Seattle defense as a whole.
Yeah,
I think it's a good spot for Kittle to pop up. Kittle's been pretty consistent lately. I mean, he didn't have to do much last game, but like again, they've just. I mean, the game was entirely Christian McCaffrey. I think you're going up against a more competent offense here, and I think that'll lead to just a few more targets for George Kittle. Obviously, Debo being out is obviously also going to contribute to that. So I like that. Like we're almost getting plus money there at 3.5. That's a really low number for a player who's very familiar with the Seahawks, not going up against an elite linebacking crew or anything like that. So yeah, you bring up Kittle. That was definitely one of the guys I wanted to lean towards as well. Feels like a very low receiving yardage number as well. I think a lot of this numbers too on Kittle is just tied to the quarterback, right? Like, and again, I mean, Josh Johnson, if he does start, that's not great. But at the same time, we're not asking George Kittle to he doesn't need like a guy who can chuck it 20 yards into traffic. Like Kittle is going to get his yardage, a couple tosses over the middle. Those are generally like the easier, spots for the quarterbacks. They like those. They're simple. They're not out to the sticks or anything. It's not really timing routes. And then maybe some screens. Like I think Kittle probably gets there just through game flow and stuff alone. So yeah, I think these are pretty depressed. I think that the quarterback situation is harming these, and I think that the over makes a little bit of sense there for sure. Ayuk is the one I'd be a little bit more concerned about of the two.
What for like receiving yards there? So Ayuk 51.5.
Yeah, he's gonna have I can't even remember the corner that Seattle has, but I mean they have strong outside corners, and like there's no Deebo Samuel to worry about. So I think Ayuk, I'd either lean under there or I'd just stay off altogether.
Yeah, it's interesting too there, Nick, since Purdy has taken over, it looks like Ayuk leads the starting receivers in air yards per catch, target share, and catches of 20 plus yards. You would think that could possibly only increase with Deebo out, but Jeff does bring up a good point with the young corners.
No, Jeff does bring up a good point, and I think it's fair to want to stay away from him in this spot in every sense, or fade him, I guess. But I'm actually gonna, because I'm seeing all that logic on that side, I actually do want to go against it a little bit, just because we've seen him in several spots throughout the course of the season where look, I don't want to touch his receptions prop like that. I will agree, like I don't want to mess with that because who knows what can happen. But we've seen him. I mean, what was it just last week, right? He went for 57 yards on just 2 receptions. He can pop off and just for one big long one, and that can make all the difference for him in this situation here. And when you don't have Deebo here earlier in the year, I know that it was a little bit more of an automatic, but now because you had a healthy quarterback in this situation, again, I was just saying about Purdy that I don't trust his oblique, but if he's going to be playing, they're going to have to pass in some capacity, and you're not just going to ignore Ayuk when you don't have Deebo Samuel in this situation. So at 51.5, which is a slightly dipped down number from him, but pretty much in the general ballpark where he's been throughout the last few weeks. I feel like he's been in the 56, 59 range for the most part. So a dip, but still in the ballpark. I like the over for Ayuk here.
What, Jeff, what would you do here with the Christian McCaffrey total rushing and receiving yards, 119 and a half?
I would probably go over.
Yeah. So, all right. So I'm glad you say that. I want to know if Purdy doesn't go, will going over still be just as safe with Josh Johnson under center?
I mean, it's a big over. So I mean, I'm just talking about it like from a pure probability standpoint. Like I'm not. This wouldn't be my favorite bet, but
okay.
I would lean over here as well. I don't see how San Francisco doesn't get McCaffrey 20 plus touches here. Averaged 9.6 yards per play last week against Tampa Bay. What I would call a pretty vastly superior rush defense, although they're not as good this year as they have been in past years. They're still a lot better than Seattle. The worry here is whenever you're taking a number that big and going over on it, there's just a lot of things that can get in the way. Game flow, turnovers can wreck opportunity, and injuries can pop up. So, like I said, I'm not going out of my way to take like a big over here, but like at the same time, we're looking at projections and probabilities, and like the probability to me is saying, Christian McCaffrey has a pretty solid day here against the 49ers and potentially ends up with a few more touches because of the quarterback situation. So, yeah, I would take the over. I like McCaffrey more just from a DFS perspective. Yet, that risk reward. Obviously, if he doesn't turn out, you don't get a chance at it. But captaining him will also be come with like a lot of baggage in terms of other people maybe thinking to do the same thing. He is priced up though, which is nice. I mean, I like the price that we've got McCaffrey at. It gives you a decision for showdown. It's not just as simple as, he's like the third most expensive. Sure, smash him in. There's a lot of like elite receivers you could look to here. There's Geno Smith on the slate. So, McCaffrey's interesting from DFS. I would lean over on his prop. I think that he'll probably lead this game in terms of total yardage.
I mean, like Nick, whether we're talking sportsbook or, if you want to go over to DFS right now, like this is a defense, Seattle's defense that just gave up 223 rushing yards. Like almost 5 yards per carry to freaking Carolina. So like, to think Seattle will be able to shore things up on short rest against the league's most like efficient running back this season. Like, no, it's just not happening.
Well, yeah, you would think that, but then what is it going to materialize into? Because I mean, as much as you don't necessarily have to be taking the Seahawks in this situation, but still to go and say that the book's that far off. I mean, sure, we see blowouts happen from time to time. It does, they can get it wrong, but it just seems like a little bit too much of a reach, especially when we're talking about, a quick turnaround. And I understand running back, we have an injured quarterback and whatnot. So maybe you put a little more focus there. To me, it seems to go and bank on that. I'm not saying you shouldn't roster McCaffrey for fantasy purposes, or I'm not even saying that Jeff's wrong about the over on that rushing and receiving prop. But I just think to go and assume that, the book somehow they're going to go off, and that's going to manifest into, a butt ton of touchdowns for Christian McCaffrey. That just seems a little bit of a reach on my end. So maybe yardage, sure, you can go with that. But
I mean, look, there's a lot of variabilities with this game, and like again, I think that you don't need to go. And I mean, we should be selective with betting, right? I mean, like obviously we're talking about McCaffrey, and I brought up a couple other alternate lines you could look at. Over 50 yards receiving. I'd almost rather just bet that. You're getting plus money. I think there's a possibility, with Geno Smith on the other side, this game stays a bit competitive. If Seattle can just, box the line up a little bit, which they're probably going to try and do with the quarterback situation, he could easily get a few more receiving yards here. And, the short pass game will probably get worked a lot, regardless of who's at quarterback. So there's opportunity. I mean, again, I always tell people, go through every prop that's available.
Yep.
Go through everything, because there's usually something that kind of sticks out as, that's that's maybe a little bit better value than I thought was. And there's a couple down there on McCaffrey that you could look at. So you could certainly invest in the yardage over, but again, like Nick, I mean, I have concerns as well. I mean, it's a big question to have a quarterback who's a third stringer and now has no preparation coming into his first road game. So I think there's probably better spots in this game. I know we talked about the receivers. I kind of like just, if you're looking for a straight up prop, looking at like Kittle with the increased usage better. So,
Nick, who is your best DFS play tomorrow night?
Well, I mean, looking at the higher end guys, because I understand like what Jeff said about McCaffrey, and I do think that as much as he's got that heightened price, he's still going to be fairly popular. That's a no brainer. But when I'm looking at the two Seahawks wide receivers, I think that going with Tyler Lockett is the option here. If you're trying to have a high price guy still, but have it not be Christian McCaffrey, of course, you can still roster the two in some way, shape, or form. And yes, Geno Smith, if you can slide him in there too, he's in that similar price range, a little bit more expensive than Lockett and Metcalf. But seeing Lockett kind of get going of late, seeing him get more volume, and then seeing what he did against the 49ers earlier in the season, that's all within the realm of possibility of what he's been doing recently, in that given what the success he had against them earlier in the season. So I think DK Metcalf, sure, you could go and roster him. I just think that Lockett's going to be a safer play because we're seeing him get that heightened bit of volume, and it's been a steady climb over the last 3 or 4 weeks, Emerson, if I'm not mistaken, looking at the stat sheet there.
Yeah, bro. He's on not to pull a Kaufman here, but he's on one of my I think 2 of my season longs, and like Bro is very consistent.
Interesting.
Ulrich. Yeah, Ulrich. Who do you got as your top play? Maybe a top play not named Christian McCaffrey. Like, you both agree you got to have Christian McCaffrey in there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then, Jeff, give me someone else besides him.
So, yeah, I think that there's outside of, like the Seahawks wide receivers, and I agree with Nick. I mean, there's just not a big price difference here. Lockett scored over 30 points twice. I think he's just a better matchup for against San Francisco as well. Typically just like not the greatest slot coverage there. So I think Lockett over Metcalf, and then obviously Geno Smith is very viable as a captain. A little bit of rushing upside, but just a good deep downfield passer. You pay up a little bit more for Lockett than Smith, but I think, Geno also gives you that rushing upside. So I'd probably lean Geno over Lockett just slightly, but it's, I think both are very viable. And then, after that, I don't know if you can, I think that the big contrarian option down there is actually Kenneth Walker. What have we seen from Walker? Like he can go off. I mean, like, again, I'll bring up his game log here. Like, I mean, like I know there's other names down there, like Kittle's down here, Ayuk, but again, like, do we really want to take a chance with Kittle or Ayuk going nuts with like Purdy or Josh Johnson at quarterback? No. I mean, like, Walker is the guy. He's going to get the handoffs. Yeah, it's a bad matchup. That doesn't mean that he can't overcome it, though. He's again, we look back at his history. When he's been healthy, he's gotten double-digit carries in a lot of games. He was more involved as a pass catcher at times as well. He's gone over 30 points twice this season as well, just like Lockett. So it's not an ideal matchup, but that also is just going to lead to insanely low ownership. I mean, he averaged 8 yards per carry against New Orleans. He shredded some pretty bad rush defenses, but like, again, I think this game against Arizona is a good example. Arizona's rush defense isn't bad, but Walker had 26 carries in the game. Like Seattle got up, he caught some passes, and he found the end zone a couple times. And I'm not saying that's how this game is going to go, but I think that's at least a viable outcome. And I think it's viable enough that Walker at 11-4 for captain would be like the contrarian option I'd really be considering here. Nobody is going to play for this game to be a run-heavy approach from Seattle with what they've been doing and with the defense they're going up against. So
I'm calling it right now. Tomorrow on our show, when we talk Thursday Night Football, Pierce Dietrich will find a way to squeeze in Ray McLeod at $1,200, which I actually don't think would be the craziest like value play from Pierce throughout this entire season. But I know
he brought up Semi Fioka in a game where I don't even think he dressed once. So
bro, he consistently brings up $200 players. I mean, at least Ray is $1,200. All right, what do we got here? About like 7 or 8 more minutes to go. Would you guys want to hit on like a Saturday game really quick and then dish off like an NHL NBA play, or do you want to just do all NFL? What do you want to do?
Time really flies. Geez, 7 minutes already. Well, the Jags are playing on Sunday, right, Emerson?
Yeah.
Well, yes, they are. Go ahead, Nick.
Well, it's funny, Jeff. Emerson's saying how it stinks how there's so much regular season football left and he still wants the playoffs, but there's only so much more time where you can watch your boys play the rest of the year, Emerson.
Hey, listen, bro. They could easily win out here. They could easily win out.
This line's moved down too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
They could win out, especially that would include another win over the Texans. That would include a second win over the Titans. Just saying, bro.
Well,
but
I don't know.
What do you like that game?
I don't know if I'm going to back them to go and necessarily win this weekend, but I do like them to cover in this one.
Yes.
So it's at +4. Where did it open up, Jeff? Do you know off the top of your head? Because I actually
I think it actually opened at 2.5 or 3. It got up to 5. It was at 5 yesterday. I bet it at 4.5.
Yeah, I thought it was at 4.5 this morning. I thought it was there when we were talking totals.
I actually talked about this game with I think it was with Glasheen on Monday, and I said it was at 5 on Monday. And I said there's going to come a point where the sharps get in on this and bet this down, and it's happened. Now we're at -115 for a 4-point spread. So I think that the spread got up too high. I think this may even shift back a little bit in Dallas's favor. But I think 4.5 was good. I'll really, once you get over 3.5, I mean, we're talking key numbers and stuff. I think 4 is still fine. I'm on the Jacksonville side. I'm not going to go against it just because of a point, but half a point. But I think that Nick's right. I think this will be a close game. The Cowboys' pass defense is gettable. The Jags' offensive line has been really good of late. They're giving Lawrence time to work in the slot in the pocket. And Evan Ingram was chewed up the Cowboys during his career. They got Christian Kirk, Zay Jones. I think Jags probably at least keep this game close.
And just to add on to what Jeff's saying too about the line movement and everything. So it shrunk down from where it was earlier in the week, but still, if you look at the percentage of bets and everything, the public is still heavily leaning on the Cowboys. That's 69% right now as we're talking about it. 31% on the Jags. So we're still getting that movement down, but the public's not on them at all. And then it's 35% of the handle too. So it's just a little bit of sharp money, but that's significant enough for me, 4%, where I'm going to be paying attention to that. And it still also should not lead to that type of that much movement either.
Yeah. I mean, Cowboys are streaking 4 straight wins. Jags are kind of streaking. They have 2 wins in the last 3 games. But man, Cowboys have been averaging 420 yards through this 4-game win streak. Not to mention, Doug Peterson wasn't great against the Cowboys during his time with the Eagles either. He was 4-7 against them.
Different team.
True, different team. But even as a Jags fan, I'm the running game's not fantastic right now.
We're not talking about them winning, Emerson. We're talking about them covering.
I am only talking about them winning, pal.
Oh.
But I don't know. I think covering can still be really tough. But hey, I love the positivity coming out of both of you tonight. This is exceptional.
We're here for you, pal. We're here for you. So we do.
Okay.
Pick up your teammate.
Give me all right. We have 3 Saturday games here. Colts, Vikings, Ravens, Browns, Dolphins, Bills. Which team would you back here? Give me one team that you would back, Nick.
Yeah, so I mean, look, we got Kirk Cousins outside of the 1:00 hour, so I'm going to be fading him. As much as it's the Colts and whatnot. I mean, I can't help but look at the market movement on this so far. And again, we're in a situation where the sharps are heavily on them. Their handle is double the percentage of bets, 15%, 31% split. So for me, right now, I don't need to see much more than that. Obviously wait a little bit to see how things move throughout the course of the week. But right now I like the Colts to cover 4 points.
Nice, dude. Yeah. Jeff, what about you?
Yeah, I'll take interesting. I mean, I'm kind of probably leaning against Nick on that one. I think the Vikings, the Colts going to go back with Matt Ryan, but it's not my favorite spot on the slate either. On the Saturday, mine is just the Browns. Just take the Browns to cover. I know the line's moved to 3. Obviously, ideally you would have got in on a 2.5, but I think that the Browns could just win this game very handily. Third game back for Deshaun Watson now. The rust was starting to look like it was coming off in the last game.
It did.
The Ravens, the Ravens beat Mitch Trubisky and the Steelers last week. Congrats. You need 3 points. Lamar is obviously a factor in this game, whether he's going to play or not. But Mark Andrews hasn't looked good. The Browns.
Well, he hasn't consistently at that quarterback spot. That hasn't helped him at all.
No. The Browns are going up against a pretty good rush defense, but they also have Nick Chubb. They now have a more dynamic playbook with Deshaun Watson. I think Cleveland potentially just wins this very handily, and I think the Ravens are kind of ripe to get exposed. Blew a game against the Jags, and since then they've won 2 games that they probably shouldn't have. I don't know if they should have won last week. So, and they definitely shouldn't have won the game against the Broncos. So,
Yeah.
I think Baltimore gets exposed here. I think Cleveland wins this one and potentially covers this really easily.
And I know J.K. Dobbins had like a decent game, but there was that one like breakaway he had.
Yeah, he does not look great.
No, his knee looks stiff. Like his knee's not even like bending. He's like limping like half the time when he like runs, and I'm like, ugh, looks uncomfortable.
That's the thing. Like Cleveland, obviously a weaker rush defense, but they really only have one thing to cover here. What is going to hurt them in the Baltimore Ravens passing game? Nothing. Yeah. So I think there's a good chance they just shut Dobbins down quick. Watson gets a little bit of confidence early, and maybe their defense even just takes over. So,
all right, quickly here, Fryer. What's your best play tonight in the NBA? It's a Big Ten game slate. I know we talked some injuries this morning, but what do you feel good about right now in the DK Sportsbook?
Yeah, so there are wrote up a couple things over on DK Nation, so you guys can go get some of those. Sweet. One that I do want to highlight here is the Thunder going up against the Heat. They're +2 at 2.5 rather at home. No Jimmy Butler in this one. And look, the Heat are not great as road favorites. The Thunder have covered a fair amount at was 6-2 against the spread as home underdogs. And then again, talking about market movement and everything, when I was checking it out earlier, and there hadn't been much movement, at least in a negative manner, for this play since I wrote this up. But they received actually, I think I jotted down this incorrectly, but either way, Miami was receiving 61% of the spread bets in this game, but the Thunder, they were making up 65% of the handle too. So I really like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in this spot. I mean, I think it's huge for him not having Jimmy Butler on the floor. So, and then you factor in everything else that I was talking about. Thunder +2.5, give me those extra points. If you want to take them straight up too, I wouldn't blame you.
I kind of like the under in that game too, considering it's just been a trend for both teams entering this one. Jeff, before we take off, you got a hockey play for us? We go from a 10-game slate in the NBA to a 3-gamer on the ice.
Yeah, it's a pretty weak slate here. Like nothing killer that stands out. Detroit coming off, a close game last week against Minnesota. I don't hate taking the Wild to cover the puck line at home. They've been much better late. Marc-Andre Fleury playing better. I think that probably my favorite bet would be to go over in the Calgary-Vancouver game. Again, two pretty solid offenses. Goaltenders struggling there. Calgary creates a lot of offense 5-on-5. I also don't hate the Calgary Flames over team total in that game. So a smaller slate, but again, I think you can target some goals for this Calgary game. And I kind of just like Calgary in general in this game. So a couple different ways to play them. Over 3.5 there. Not bad odds.
All right, boys. Nice work. Producer Eamon, appreciate you, dude. TP on the 1s and 2s. Enjoy Taco Wednesday, whatever it is you're going to be doing after this. But I'll see everyone back in studio. Maybe Jessie Cofield will stop throwing up, and she'll be back in studio with me and suck it up. And she can have a Jordan flu game of her own,
Take your time, Jesse.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Wait, is that a compliment for me?
No, I'm saying take care of yourself.
Oh, I thought you meant like, I do like a really good job.
Oh,
okay.
Sure.
I'm taking care of myself, but I'm also taking care of the team. Like I can still rest and relax and also have fun. And like, this is healthy for me.
I don't know how to handle this.
It's called multitasking.
All right. I'll
adults
text you.
do.
I'll text you, Nick. We gotta go. We'll see you guys. Goodbye.